Part 67. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 661. Chapter 661 Lu Jing, even someone with a rank like Li Baikan still wants to fight with me. Sun Ying'er was satisfied when she saw Li Baikan like this. Baikan, remember to put something in his mouth. Nian is sleeping now. What will happen if Nian is disturbed? Good. Lu Jing. In this situation, Lu Jing immediately rushed to Sun Ying'er's side and hugged Sun Ying'er's thigh, and Sun, my biological aunt, really can't treat me like this, please save me. I'm young now. What to do if you get beaten up? It's just because you are young. There are no children who are not beaten. It's better to be good and teach them a lesson. When Sun Ying'er said this, she smiled very gently and lovingly. Lu Jing. But at this time, Sun Ying'er suddenly looked at Josu next to her. Josu, why don't you take off your socks and stuff them into our young master Lu's mouth? After all, it's a big deal for your wife to rest now. Mr. Li, just now if you talk like that, it's not good if you're disturbing your wife. Lu Jing. Josu. Josu immediately beamed. Take off your shoes and socks immediately. I was wrong, I was really wrong, I am not the best in the world. Li Baikan, you are, a little person like me, how could I be the best man in the world? I was wrong, I was really wrong. Mr. Lu has no other merits except his lack of moral integrity. But I really don't understand what's wrong with me. I'm just a man who gets what he wants. I just want to work hard to let my beloved see what's wrong with me. Why does God treat me like this? In order to be able to, if I get the love of the woman I love, I am willing to accept the thief as my aunt. What's wrong with me? Lu Jing's appearance gave Sun Ying'er an illusion. Why does it feel like the person Lu Jing likes is him and he is stalking him? But, why do you have such a disgusting idea? Sun Ying'er wanted to pull back her feet and get this Lu Jing away. But there is nothing we can do. Let go. Don't let it go, don't let it go, I won't let it go. And Sun, I have said so many good things to you before and made so many conditions to you, why do you still leave such a message in moments? The witty Lu Jing was howling. When calling, he glanced at Li Baikan. As expected, Li Baikan was speechless. Lu Jing couldn't help but snorted in his heart, even someone with a rank like Li Baikan would fight with him. Author, Mr. Lu, it's really a bit wrong for you to use these words to describe the current state of the two of you. Get up. Lu Jing hugged her tightly. Josu next to him was happy when he saw this scene. Miss Sun, why don't you think about it? After all, Mr. Lu's attitude is already so good. Sincerity has already been put here. Why don't you think about it? If he wants to express himself, why doesn't he ask you to express himself? Sun Ying'er looked directly at Josu, who was full of gloating about his misfortune. Josu's smile suddenly froze. Then Sun Ying'er said in a serious tone, Lu Jing, you just want to prove yourself and prove that you are better than Baikan? In fact, I don't have much contact with Baikan. I actually don't know how good Baikan is. But Josu is different. You must know that Josu is inseparable from Baikan, even closer than Nian. If this is the case, then your performance in front of Josu will definitely prove yourself. Lu Jing suddenly widened his eyes. You have proved it with Josu, proving that you are more outstanding and better than Baikan. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 662. Chapter 662 Josu who ran away quickly. Li Baikan. Josu. Lu Jing. Li Baikan really didn't expect that things would develop to this extent. The reason why he came here was to clean up Lu Jing, take Lu Jing away, and then explain to Lu Jing that some things should not be said carelessly. After all, Sun didn't really believe that he loved her. It would be even worse if Lu Jing continued to talk nonsense. Plus, Sun is pregnant now. Although Sun is in a better state now, Sun still occasionally gets emotional. Thinking of what happened in his previous life, Li Baikan feels very distressed just because of this. How could he let a brainless guy like Lu Jing say something to offend Sun? Happy. But with the current situation, I am really at a loss. He couldn't help but hold his forehead. I don't want it, I don't want it. Sun Ying directly ordered, Josu, you just said that. You must sympathize with Lu Jing. If that's the case, you should help him as a good deed. She let this Josu make sarcastic remarks. Josu really didn't think that he was involved in this matter. Miss Sun, you can't do this. Facing Josu's call, Sun Ying remained indifferent. Instead, she looked at Li Baikan, who was standing aside. Baikan, do you treat me like a sister? What else could Li Baikan do in this situation? He just smiled softly and said, Sister, what do you mean by this? Sun calls you sister every day. I'm not deaf. How could I not hear it? So you are my sister? When Li Baikan said this, he coughed lightly. What, sister, you can do whatever you want. Sun has been sleeping for so long. I think she is about to wake up now. I'll go take a look. After that, he left. Josu immediately lost his composure when he saw Li Baikan like this. What does this mean? Mr. Li, what does it mean? After all, I have been by your side for so many years, and I have worked hard without any merit. Isn't it like this? Josu, since you can stay with Li Baikan for so long, you must be extraordinary. I think you have the ability. Of course, Josu couldn't want to be entangled with Lu Jing, a guy with a brain problem, so he immediately said, Miss Sun, I was wrong, I was really wrong, I can't keep my mouth shut. How are you going to punish me? That's fine, whatever. I suddenly remembered that the company was on fire, so I'll leave first and you guys can continue talking. After saying this, Josu turned around and left. That's right, just go. Slip away so fast. Sun Ying was not given a chance to speak at all. Sun Ying didn't say anything, but Lu Jing was unhappy. What does he mean? What does he mean? It's really too much to treat me like this. After all, I am also the eldest young master of the Lu family, the future heir of the Lu family, and a top rich man. Although Lu Jing didn't want to have anything to do with Josu, he was really intolerable to be rejected like this. Sun Ying sneered a few times after hearing this. So many names are on him, but still no woman likes him. The circle of rich people is already so big. Even though Sun Ying had no contact with Lu Jing before, she had heard of Lu Jing's reputation. You must know that usually every rich man is surrounded by some coquettish girls who want to get in the upper hand, but there is not a single such coquettish around Lu Jing. It is said that there once was a woman who pretended to be pitiful in front of Lu Jing. She said that she was from a mountain village and it would take 3 or 4 hours for her family to go to the city. Who knew that after Lu Jing heard this, he immediately felt that it was not easy for that woman, and then I was so moved that I burst into tears and immediately pulled the woman to revitalize her hometown. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 663. Chapter 663. The brain circuit is really amazing. Thinking about it this way, Sun Ying really admires Lan Min. Although I can't say what Lan Min really thinks about Lu Jing. Isn't it torture just to have this idiot around? It seems that this Lanzi is not an ordinary person. Stop making trouble, tell me what you want to do. Tell me what you want me to do, just say it, no matter what you say, I will do it, but you must give it to me right away. Get out of here as far as you can. Auntie, how can you say that? If you don't know, then you would think. Sun Ying-er immediately looked at him with murderous eyes. Lu Jing. Sun Ying-er then continued to say in a gritted voice, speak quickly, don't talk nonsense. Under such circumstances, what else could Mr. Lu do? He could only speak honestly. Sun Ying-er originally comforted herself. Tolerate. As long as you endure it, it will be fine. But in fact, Sun Ying-er underestimated Lu Jing. Because Lu Jing actually said that he wanted her to post on Moments. And the content is thoughtfully edited. Sun Ying-er now feels a little regretting why she didn't let Li Baikan kill this guy directly. And Sun, I promise that as long as you send it, I will definitely not disturb you, and you can get away as far as you want. Sun Ying-er was still unmoved. The reason for this is because she felt that if she really posted this, she would definitely become a joke to everyone in the circle. And the kind that made me laugh hard for 3 years. Auntie, what are you waiting for? Lu Jing's eyes were as bright as they wanted to be at this moment. After a long time, Sun Ying-er spoke again, Lu Jing, what on earth did you do to me in my last life that you want to do this to me? As soon as these words came out, Lu Jing fell silent. Lu Jing also put away the playful expression on his face. The atmosphere was a little condensed for a while. The two of them stood face to face. I don't know how much time passed before Lu Jing said, Sun Ying-er, you dug my ancestral grave in your last life. Sun Ying-er. Lu Jing's face was serious at this moment. As we all know, digging ancestral graves is a sinful thing. In this world, nothing is more abominable than digging ancestral graves, but Sun Ying-er, you dug it in your last life. Sun Ying-er really couldn't stand listening anymore, so she stepped forward and gave Lu Jing a big slap in the face. Try talking nonsense again. Lu Jing, who had been beaten hard, looked aggrieved. Why did you hit me? Didn't you ask? You asked me, so I answered. Even if you are my aunt and an elder, you can't. If you say you're going to hit someone, you're really going too far. Sun Ying-er really didn't know what to say. She now really doubts that this guy Lu Jing can't understand human speech. Sun Ying-er doesn't want to see this guy at all now, not even for a moment. So he turned around and left. But when Sun Ying-er took a few steps, Lu Jing followed one step. Lu Jing, Sun Ying-er, who has been taught by her family to be a lady at all times since she was a child, now looks like a shrew. But Lu Jing, the culprit who caused Sun Ying-er to become like this, said with an innocent face, and, you just said that as long as I say anything, then you will do whatever you want, and when you are done, I will leave immediately. Now I have said, you didn't do it, so of course I have to follow you. Sun Ying-er, this guy's brain circuit. Really awesome. It's time for everyone to celebrate the new year. Then I will start to torture. I will finish the plot of the previous life. After I finish the torture, I will not torture again. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich John Word. Chapter 664. Chapter 664 Sun Ying-er Circle of Friends. Sunian opened his eyes drowsily. She yawned and sat up. Are you awake? Li Baikan's voice rang out. Sunian's brain has not yet been completely turned on. Are you thirsty? Do you want some water? Li Baikan had just guessed that Sunian was about to wake up, so he had already brought a thermos. Sunian nodded. Then Li Baikan poured a glass of water and handed it over. This water happens to be warm, so you can drink it. Sunian took the cup and said, how long have I been sleeping? Has my sister left? As soon as she gets pregnant during this period and wants to sleep, she has to go to bed immediately. If she doesn't have a place to sleep, she will be in a very bad mood. So even if the sister Sun Ying-er is here, even if Sunian wants to accompany Sun Ying-er. But I had to go to sleep. When Li Baikan heard this question, he really didn't know how to answer it for a while. Because Sun Ying-er was pestered by that guy Lu Jing, he didn't know if she was there. Sunian naturally took the phone and opened the circle of friends habitually. But when she checked moments a few times, she almost spit out the water in her mouth. Because she saw what her good sister Sun Ying-er had posted. Today is really a good day for me to meet a better man than Li Baikan. Not only is he handsome, he is also very gentle and considerate. I think there is no one like him in this world. With pictures of land scenes. Her first reaction after seeing this was that Sun Ying-er's account had been hacked. Moreover, my account was hacked by Lu Jing. When Sunian was shocked, Li Baikan sat next to her, took a tissue, and wiped Sunian thoughtfully. What's wrong? Why are you so excited? Baikan, look, this Weibo, this is what my sister posted on Weibo. What on earth is going on? I just slept for a while, but it feels like the world has changed. Sunian thought that Lu Jing must have used a dishonorable method to steal Sun Ying-er's mobile phone. If this were not the case, then how could Sun Ying-er post such a thing? Li Baikan glanced at Sunian's phone screen, and then smiled. Something did happen. These words really made Sunian's eyes completely light up. What does it mean that something did happen? Li Baikan then told Lu Jing's tricks. After listening to Lu Jing's moves, Sunian didn't know what to say for a while. Just listening to it, she could imagine how speechless Sun Ying-er was. Why do I feel like this guy is relying on his sister? Li Baikan nodded, he thought so too. Hey, now I really think it's not easy to be a lantern. Sunian and Sun Ying-er had the same idea about this. They both felt that it was really not easy to be an lantern. It was really super difficult. Sunian called Sun Ying-er. The moment the phone call came through, Sun Ying-er seemed to have opened up her chat box and kept talking. Sunian is like a crocodile in crosstalk. The two of them sang together. Nian, you don't know, I just said casually, what happened to him in my previous life, but that guy actually said that I dug his ancestral grave. Can you imagine how I felt when I heard this? If you can, if so, I wanted to kill him and cut him into pieces. Sunian thought for a while, and if she heard this, she would probably feel the same way. Looking at the two women joking, Li Baikan smiled and left silently. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich John Word. Chapter 665. Chapter 665. The sudden appearance of Lan Min. Sunian recites silently every day. 3 months, 3 months. As long as it's 3 months, then it's fine. Of course Li Baikan is also looking forward to it in his heart. Looking forward to 3 months soon. Sunian's condition could be better. However, Sunian's overall situation is still very comfortable. There is nothing to worry about every day, just dealing with some morning sickness. Sunian has been obsessed with watching movies in recent days, but Li Baikan was worried that Sunian would be suffocated if he stayed in the room for a long time, so he bought a huge TV. Let Sunian watch a movie in the living room. At the same time, Li Baikan also kept the temperature in the living room constant at 25 degrees. Even if Sunian fell asleep while watching the movie, it didn't matter. The days went on like this day by day. Just when Sunian fell asleep on the sofa again, and slept soundly, she heard someone calling her. Sunian, wake up, wake up. Sunian opened his eyes drowsily after hearing this voice. Seeing the confused figure, Sunian asked doubtfully, Lan Min. When Sunian uttered these two words, he suddenly woke up. After all, why is Lan Min here? She is no better than before. She is pregnant with Mo Bao now. What if something happens to Mo Bao? Why are you here? Sunian guarded his stomach tightly. Sunian, don't be so afraid. I won't do anything to you. I just want to see you. Sunian's mind was really confused now, and he immediately shouted, someone is coming, someone is coming. Such a loud noise immediately echoed through the entire old house. Li Baikan also came to Sunian's side immediately. The servants and bodyguards also gathered around him immediately. Everyone looked at Lan Min solemnly. Li Baikan, who came in a hurry, really wanted to kill Lan Min when he saw her. Why is this woman here? But now the first thing Li Baikan has to do is not to do this, but to appease Sunian. He quickly held Sunian in his arms. It's okay, it's okay. I'm here. You won't have any problems. If there is really any danger, then I will definitely stand in front of you. Li Baikan tried his best to speak in a gentle voice. Even though the voice in his head made his heart ache. What to do, what to do, the heroine has appeared. Why has the heroine appeared? How will she plot against my calligraphy treasure this time? Will she say that my calligraphy treasure is a bastard? How could my calligraphy treasure be a bastard? Don't panic. Li Baikan is here now. Li Baikan is not dead in this life, so Lan Min, the so-called heroine, has no reason to talk to me in this life. Sunian, don't be afraid, don't be afraid, you are the most vicious female protagonist in the world. You must know that you killed this heroine in your previous life, so don't be afraid. But the more Sunian thought about this, the more her body trembled. Li Baikan understood that Sunian was afraid that something would happen to Mo Bao in her belly. After all, under normal circumstances, women need to worry about many things when they are pregnant. Even a small move by the mother may cause a lifetime tragedy for the child in her belly. How could Sunian not be afraid in a situation like this? It's okay, your husband and I are here. What are you afraid of? Even if the sky falls, your husband and I will hold up. When Li Baikan said this, he tried hard to put a smile on his face, and if I can't do it, I still have the old man. If the old man dotes on you so much and treats you like his own daughter, how could anything happen to you? End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 666. Chapter 666. How did you get in? Li Baikan's words were like a ray of sunshine shining into a dark world. Sunian couldn't help but raise his head. She saw the smile on Li Baikan's face. Although the smile on Li Baikan's face now is very fake, the kind that can be seen at a glance. But just such a false smile made Sunian's panicked heart completely calm down. Baikan, you may have misunderstood. I really didn't do anything. That's what happened to Sunian at this moment. Lan Min's ghostly voice appeared. Li Baikan held the man in his arms and turned his head, with no murderous intent hidden in his eyes. Such a look made Lan Min take a few steps back subconsciously. Li Baikan looked at her like this. She saw naked murderous intent in Li Baikan's eyes. You must know that in the past, when Li Baikan saw such eyes, her role was to be by his side to comfort him and tell him not to be impulsive. Why did I not touch Sunian at all, or even talk to Sunian? Sunian is such a bitch, why didn't Li Baikan see it? How did you get in? Li Baikan asked coldly. I just think that Sunian and you haven't gone out for so many days, so I'm worried about you. After all, Sunian is pregnant now. Your mother died young in Baikan, and there are no female relatives around Sunian. In these years, you have always treat her like my own sister, so I think, after so many years of kindness from you, the more I do at this time, the more I have to do something. Haha, Li Baikan sneered a few times when he heard this. He moved to the old house specifically for Sunian's safety, thinking that the old house was the place where the Li family had been staying for many years. In addition, he had bought all the land of the surrounding families, so he thought that this place was full of iron and steel walls. But I didn't expect it. This woman actually still appears here. Get out of here. Li Baikan was in no mood to deal with this so-called heroine now. Suddenly someone stepped forward to drag him. But Lan Min finally got here. How could he leave just like that? So he quickly said, Baikan, can you give me a chance? If you give me a chance, I will definitely treat you well. It will definitely not be like this, just let me stay here and take care of Sunian. Don't worry, I will definitely take care of Sunian as my own sister. Now Lan Min is as if he has grasped a life-saving straw. But Lan Min's appearance made Li Baikan really panic. Because this made Li Baikan suddenly think of the days when he was controlled by the plot. If it is really controlled by the plot at this time, then Sunian. Thinking of this, Li Baikan's eyes became more and more sinister. You must know that this is the old house, the old man's territory. The old man hates Lan Mi, and this is something everyone in the old house knows. Naturally, these servants will not be polite to people who the old man hates. Lan Yan also felt this. She looked at Li Baikan closely. She talked about everything she had with Li Baikan over the years, hoping to arouse Li Baikan's feelings for her. But no matter what she said, the end result would be that she was dragged away. It's okay, baby sweetheart, it's okay, I'm here, I will protect you, okay, don't you want to continue watching the movie? What place did you see just now? Tell me, I will help you transfer back, Li Baikan said warmly. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 667. Chapter 667. There is a problem with the servant. Li Baikan coaxed Sunian to sleep for a long time. Looking at Sunian's peaceful sleeping face, he felt at ease. If possible, then he really wants to stay with Sunian like this. But he had to go and find out how the Lanzi got here. He gently kissed Sunian's forehead. Then he said softly, sleep well. When Li Baikan walked out of the room, old Shen came in a hurry. After all, Lao Shen has been the housekeeper of the old house for many years. Now that Lan Ren suddenly appears, of course he must bear the first responsibility as the housekeeper. But Li Baikan was the first to say in front of Lao Shen, Uncle Shen, don't say anything about admitting your mistake and apologizing. Instead of saying it here, you should go and find out what is going on. After all, you watched me grow up. How could I not trust your character? Lao Shen was stunned when he heard this. Then he looked at Li Baikan with tears in his eyes. But he also knew that Sunian and the children were the most important right now, and he couldn't waste time here like this, so he took a deep breath and started talking. Lao Shen said that Lan Min came in through a servant. Lan Min told the servant that she and Li Baikan just had some conflicts now. If they reconciled, they could increase the servant's salary. Anyway, they promised a lot of benefits. Li Baikan really didn't expect that Lan Min would use such a method. Come in. To Lao Shen, this result was no different than a slap in the face. After all, he thought he had taken care of his old house in order. Lao Shen didn't even dare to think about what Lan Min would really do to Sunian if he came in. When he thought of this, fear emerged in Lao Shen's heart. It's really scary. Young master. Uncle Shen, there's no need to say anything else. You're not wrong in this matter. You'd better go check the people in the old house carefully and don't let this problem happen again. Old Shen understood what Li Baikan meant. Indeed, such a thing cannot happen again. I have told the master that I will no longer go to the company to accompany him during this period, but will deal with the affairs of the old house. Don't worry, young master, I will not let such a thing happen again, absolutely not. After finishing speaking, after saying this, Lao Shen left directly. But before Lao Shen took a few steps, he heard a strange sound. It sounds like crying. Why are there crying sounds in the old house? You must know that this is the old residence of the Li family, and it can even be said to be the center of the Li family. Those who can work here have been carefully selected by Lao Shen. Lao Shen was really panicking at the moment. Could it be that he was really old and was dazzled by what he saw? There are many problems in the old house. When he thought of this, Lao Shen felt really panicked. Then Li Baikan and Lao Shen walked towards the direction of the sound. Unexpectedly, what I saw was a group of people crying around Lan Min. That's right, it was a group of people crying around Lan Min. Lao Shen has lived for such a long time, but he has never encountered such a situation, so seeing such a scene now, he is really a little panicked. What's wrong? What happened? What do you want to do? Do you not want to do it anymore? If you don't want to do it anymore, then just say it and I will help you. Old Shen has been with Li Jianhong for so many years and has never. They all pride themselves on being cautious in doing things, but there have been no major mistakes for a long time. After Lao Shen finished roaring, everyone looked this way. Such a scene made Li Baikan feel like an eternal sinner. A slightly ironic smile appeared at the corner of Li Baikan's mouth. Uncle Shen, don't be so angry. Don't torture them. If you really want to blame them, just blame me. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Zhang Word. Chapter 668. Chapter 668 The Servant's Strangeness. After Lan Min said this, a servant immediately said, Miss Lan, don't say that. Yes, Miss Lan, you are so kind. It's because you are so kind that you are bullied and plotted against. There was even a brave man who walked up to Li Baikan and said to him very righteously, Master, why on earth, why do you want to be so alienated from Miss Lan? Miss Lan has obviously been friends with you for many years, why do you know how sad Miss Lan is to treat her like this? Lao Shen's face couldn't be more ugly. Every word these people said was like a slap in the face, hard. Ian's weak voice also sounded at this time, don't be like this. It's all my fault that Baikan treats me like this. If I hadn't made Baikan angry, our relationship would never be like this. Ms. Lan, we all see your relationship with the young master, and the young master suddenly ignores you. We all find it strange after all, after so many years of relationship. It is really strange to let go of it at the drop of a hat. The servants present all agreed softly. Hearing these words, Lan Min looked at Li Baikan. But when she saw Li Baikan's appearance, her heart skipped a beat. Because Li Baikan stood not far away, watching coldly, like an outsider. Even she felt that there was a huge distance between them. Have you said enough? You guys, Li Baikan said coldly after seeing Lan Min looking at him. With just a few words, everyone at the scene fell silent. Li Baikan, since you are so on Lan Men's side, then you can follow Lan Men. From now on, Lan Men will pay you wages and help you support your family. This sentence made everyone's expressions change. Especially Lan Min. Baikan, don't do this, they are all innocent, they are just. Take my money, and then speak for others, making it seem like I, Li Baikan, are particularly kind. Li Baikan's eyes became sharp. If you don't want to stay here, get out now. The servants who were in a heated mood just now fell silent. Lanji also wants to say something. But Li Baikan didn't give Lan Min a chance to speak at all. Lan Min, you have the ability to make everyone speak on your side. I believe you can definitely support them and their family. After saying this, as soon as he said that, Li Baikan turned around and left. Why are you so insistent on going your own way, Baikan? I told everyone what the conflict is between us. Everyone thinks there should be no conflict between us. Why do we still have such a quarrel? Why on earth? Li Baikan listened to these disgusting words and continued to walk forward. He really wants to kill someone now. But Li Baikan knew very clearly that he had something very important to do. When the servants were making trouble just now, the reason why he stood aside and watched indifferently was because he realized something very important. How could Lan Min convince so many people in such a short period of time? In other places, he may not be able to guarantee it. But there is absolutely no problem in the old house. After all, this is the place where the old man has been for many years. It is precisely because of this that he brought Sunian here to raise his baby. He must find out this. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Which John Word. Chapter 669. Chapter 669 Danger is coming. When Li Baikan finished watching the surveillance, he was suddenly shocked. Because the monitoring shows. When Lan Min was dragged into the yard, the servant planned to do something to her. Lan Min suddenly spoke. She said, "You can't do this to me." Baikan was just instigated. Regarding the relationship between Baikan and me, you should know that if Baikan hadn't been instigated, Baikan would never have done this to me. You must know that Baikan and I have been friends for many years. Baikan once said that I am the most important person in his life. No matter what happens, he will be by my side. That's right, it's about these wheels. These words have been said countless times by Lanzi. But Li Baikan saw the expressions of the servants around him full of emotion. Some people even cried bitterly. That's right, this is what happened. If other people saw such a situation, they would definitely be shocked, and they might even think that Lan Min used some kind of magic to be able to convince so many people in such a short period of time and make so many people devote themselves to her. But Li Baikan knew that this was a plot. Also understand that danger is coming. What should I do now? What should I do? If this was just a problem with the servants, Li Baikan would just need to change a batch of these servants. But it is different now. In such a situation, even if he changes a batch, it will be useless. It can even be said that the old house that he thought had iron walls was actually a joke. Sunian is in danger all the time now. What to do now, what to do now? Li Baikan panicked subconsciously. He knew very clearly that now was not the time to be anxious. He couldn't panic. He absolutely couldn't panic. He had to think carefully about what to do. The hope of Sunian and Mo Bao was in him. He had to think of something. But the more this happened, the more confused Li Baikan felt. "Master, what's wrong?" Lao Shen asked subconsciously when he saw Li Baikan like this. Li Baikan closed his eyes. It's okay. With Li Baikan's condition, how could Lao Shen believe that nothing was wrong? "Lao Shen, Master, I have already checked. There is nothing wrong with these people, and they have not had contact with Lan Min before. But don't worry, I will definitely continue to check, and I will definitely find out whether Lan Min has used it." "What kind of means?" "Master, I know very well that you regard me as your uncle, and you won't blame me, but you and the old man gave the entire old house to me just because you trusted me. How could I betray the trust you two put in me?" Li Baikan really wanted to laugh when he heard this. Check it, how to check it? If you didn't know the plot, how could you have thought of this? When Lao Shen said this, he was actually looking at Li Baikan secretly. Sunian's current situation is not as good as before. Although the old man and he are very satisfied with Li Baikan's current condition, Sunian is pregnant after all. What if something goes wrong at this time? However, when he saw Li Baikan's frowning face, he knew that his worries were unnecessary. "Uncle Shen, just do what you said." "Okay," Lao Shen simply responded and left. leaving Lee Baiken thinking alone. Lee Baiken began to think about it constantly. Imagine what to do. But there are no answers. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 670. Chapter 670 Influence, Very Influence. There was no other way, so Lee Baiken could only put his hopes on Sunian. Lee Baiken knew very clearly that it was a shameful thing for him to put his hope in Sunian, but he had no choice. However, Lee Baiken also knew that Sunian's mental state was not very good now, so he did not ask immediately. Instead, he returned to Sunian. Hold Sunian quietly. While holding Sunian, he could clearly feel that the tighter he held him, the more relaxed Sunian's body became. If it were before, Lee Baiken would definitely be happy because she was so dependent on him. But now Lee Baiken is not happy at all. It's okay, it's really okay. I will protect you. Don't be afraid. I am your husband, your husband. Don't you keep saying that you love me? Since you keep saying that you love me, then why do you don't believe me? Lee Baiken controlled his emotions and deliberately used jokes to dispel Sunian's uneasiness. Lee Baiken said a lot before making Sunian in his arms look up at her. What's wrong? Why are you looking at me like that? A smile appeared on Lee Baiken's face. Do you really not believe me? Do you really think I am lying to you? Is it really still in your heart? I thought I still had that woman Lan Min in my heart. When Lee Baiken said this, his kiss fell on Sunian's face very gently, and his voice began to become helpless. Hey, what should I do to make you believe it? Believe me, my eyes are completely healed. Now you are in my eyes and in my heart. Everything is you. Even if you want my life, just say it and I will give it to you without hesitation. My heart. Son, my baby, my life, what do you want me to do to trust me? Even though Sunian has lived 2 lifetimes, Sunian is just a woman. When I heard these words, I couldn't help laughing. Hearing Sunian's laughter, Lee Baiken breathed a sigh of relief. Well, from now on, I will always be with you. No matter what you do, I will always be with you. Even if Lan Min is a monster, I will not let Lan Min get close to you. As soon as she appears, you will definitely take care of her. This will never happen, absolutely not. Sunian's uneasiness was slowly dispelled by Lee Baiken. Do you believe it? When Lee Baiken asked this question, his heart was successfully in suspense. Even now it's just to coax Sunian. But his heart was also hanging. Sunian saw Lee Baiken like this and smiled. Faith. That simple word made Lee Baiken feel relieved. As long as Suniangsan is fine. After the stone in his heart fell to the ground, Lee Baiken continued to coax, just believe it, just believe it. If you really don't believe it, then I have to work harder to make you believe it. After all, the old man is watching eagerly from the side. If you don't believe it, I believe that if I let the old man know, he will definitely take you away from me, and then I will have to stay alone in the empty room. Do you really bear with me staying alone in the empty room? It won't affect anything if you stay alone in the empty room now, Sunian couldn't help but said with a smile. Lee Baiken raised his eyebrows when he heard this and hugged the person directly. It's very influential, very influential. Obviously it was Sunian who brought up this topic, but she still couldn't help but blush. End of this chapter.